Okay, so welcome and thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us and agreeing to be here at such a late hour. I really, really appreciate it. We've been saying we're going to do this, and everyone raves about Nicole, all the way from Johannesburg, been teaching for the last 25 years and sharing her wisdom, her learning, and has an incredible ability to explore our texts and be able to give us so much inspiration. So we're looking very, very forward. Thank you for being with us. And please, God, everything that we learn should bring us to a Chodesh Tov, as I should have begun with saying, good Chodesh Tov. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this month is going to be the month of miracles. And we should be learning literally in the Zachut and the merit of refuahs, Yeshuas for all of Klal Israel, Aliyah Shamas, and we should be learning for the safety of the Jewish people and greeting Mashiach very soon. So we're all looking forward to being inspired and ready to take on our Leil Seder in the time of Mashiach. So thank you for being with us, and apologies for my late arrival.
Introduction necessary. We can just begin learning together. I was just wondering, I was thinking, how do I switch off this music? I was feeling very computer challenged. I thought maybe I'm sitting here and I'm supposed to do something. All right, so lovely ladies out there. So for me, I'm just warning you, my time in Johannesburg is 20 to 11 in the night. This is like it's my bedtime, long past. So let's learn something amazing, Be'ezrat Hashem, together about this month of Nisan and prepare something for our Seder. So I hope you're all ready and awake. It's still early out there, and let's begin. So there's something amazing that I learned. Hello? I thought someone was joining. So there's something amazing that I learned. It must be going on about 30 years ago.
Now I'm going to say, I'm asking for Mechila. We're busy in the middle. I'm in Nikki Menashe's house with about 30 ladies doing our precious challah for a Refuah Shalema of Dalia Esther Bas Yudit Sarah. So we're going to add that on. And I always try and be here. And I tell you, when you think that you can do three things at the same time, you can't. So if you've introduced yourself, if you haven't, thank you, Nicole. She's probably exhausted. I don't know how many coffees she's had, but she is already at 20 to 11. But yes, Nicole has been learning with women in Johannesburg for over 25 years. Okay, she doesn't look 25 herself, but it's okay. And all her classes that she teaches are based on explorations of Torah filled with joyous, hashkafic excitement. And this is what I keep hearing about Nicole. So when I said, okay, Nicole, are you coming with us? And she's here. So I'm going to let her continue. I'm going to come and join you to do the hafrasha at the end. And I'm here with you. So carry on. And I do have Caroline Pector here, so we'll record it and play it for you as well.
So hold on one moment. When is the end?
So you've got about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But if you're falling, you've got till you can carry on, finish what you want to finish. But we usually finish off about 9:15, 20. But you've got as much time as you need. 9:30, as much time as you need.
Thanks,
Always little. Right. Okay.
Great. Okay, so let's go again, everybody. So there's something amazing that I learned many years ago from the late Rabbi Darby, Zichrono Livracha, and I love to teach it whenever I'm approaching a Chag, just to make sure that we're all on the same page together. So what he explained...
I'm just going to say that he was one of my favorite teachers, so it's beautiful to hear.
There we go. So what he explained... And I must say, before I even start, I did teach this when I was extremely idealistic and fresh-faced. And I was teaching, let's say, maybe it was nearly 30 years ago at like a group of young people. And I taught over this concept. And I got so excited because it really looked like they were all listening. And not only were they all listening, but at the end, when the bell rang for the class to go out, they were 15-year-olds, the one kid turned around to me and said, "Oh, my word, Mrs. Landau, I got it. And I thought, finally, I've finally got something with these kids. And she said, today's the 1st of April. This was an April Fool's joke. So brace yourselves. They walked out all laughing. And I just stood there and thought, I really need to fix the way I teach. So this is the concept that I learned from him. And whenever I go into a chag, I love to share it. So time, ladies, I know I actually do have an art degree, but time is like a cup. And around the cup, going all the way up the cup, are these circles. And each circle is a year. So starting at the bottom here, we've got Adam and Eve around a circle, year 1. Then year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., all the way up the cup. We are, Baruch Hashem, somewhere near the top in the year 5,786. Now, as we go around the cup, down the cup, I should get a straight cup. Down the cup are these lines, but they should be straight lines. Focus on this line. That's much easier to look at. And across the year, there are lines of energy that funnel down the cup. So right down here at the bottom, if this was the line of Pesach, effectively Adam and Chava experienced some form of what Pesach is. Abraham round about here also has Pesach. In fact, when he has his bris, we find that the angels come and visit him, and he's busy baking matzahs. But we haven't yet come out of Egypt, which is probably around about, let's put it there. We come out of Mitzrayim, and we are somewhere near the top. And Be'ezras Hashem, yes, it is under 2 weeks now. We are going to be colliding and joining the same energy line of Pesach that has been traveling through time for the past 5,786 years. So whenever I'm teaching youngsters particularly, they always say to me, well, what is it that Abraham was celebrating if we hadn't yet come out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt? So the truth is, I heard beautifully from Rebbetzin Heller. She said, Abraham would look at the world and he would learn about Hashem from the world. So Pesach has to fall out in the springtime, which means that he's just gone through a winter. In the winter, the trees are dead, everything looks dead. And Abraham would look at spring and he would see the regeneration and the rebirth and the redemption of the world. And in the face of the redemptive capacity of the creator of the universe, he would feel this overwhelming urge to eat matzah, which is a bread of humility. So he was celebrating the redemptive capacity of what Hashem is about. So that's why later on in the year 2448, roundabout here, I'm actually quite amazed. I'm like watching myself do this in the screen. So in the year 2448, when we do finally come out of Egypt, I hope I say this right, Hashem takes us out of Mitzrayim in the month of Nisan because it is the month of redemption. We don't celebrate Pesach in Nisan because that's when we came out of Egypt, but Hashem takes us out because this is the month of redemption. And again, we are going to collide with the same energy of what was being experienced all the way through history since the beginning of time. And there's also a Chanukah line, and there's a Shavuos line, and there's a everything line. And in fact, what Hashem wants is he wants us to have booster shots of these kinds of energy across the year. Every day we should be thanking Hashem for taking us out of Egypt. In fact, it is one of the mitzvahs that we're supposed to remember every single day. But every day we should mourn the Beis HaMikdash. And every day we should be happy to receive Torah as if we're standing at Har Sinai. But we can't manifest that quality every single day. So Hashem gives us these booster shots across the year. And if we go through a whole cycle of a year, we should hopefully be greater people at the end of each year, having gone through these energies. So someone once said to me, that sounds very nice. We like this idea. And they weren't a from person, they weren't observant. And they'd say to me, but, I don't really feel like anything major is happening at Pesach time. Or I don't feel the energy of Chanukah. That sounds very airy-fairy and hocus-pocus. So Rabbi Levy, a wonderful, wonderful, gorgeous, special man who taught me at SEM, said it so exquisitely. He said, if you can picture a a plug socket in the wall. I've got one behind me just here. So there's a socket and you stick the plug in. Now, the truth is, behind the socket, there's a lot of electrical currents. There are wires and electricity that's running through those wires. But if you don't stick the plug in, then you cannot access the energy. The light won't go on. So unless we know what this month is about and what to do with the actual Seder, in fact, if we don't know how to take ourselves and plug ourselves into this line, then the spiritual light inside cannot go on. So let's enjoy a little bit tonight and find out what is this month about and what is the Seder really deeply about. So when I think about this month, firstly, I heard from Rabbi Gladstein a beautiful idea. He says like this, he says, when we go into the month of Nisan and we've just had Rosh Chodesh, as soon as we go in, it's a completely different zone. Why is it a different zone? Because the whole month of Nisan, we cannot say Tachanun. Tachanun is a sad prayer, and we do not say Tachanun the whole month of Nisan. Why? So listen to this. When we came out of Mitzrayim, it was the year 2448, that's about 3,340 years ago. We came out. A year later, in the year 2449, we built something called the Mishkan, the tabernacle, this extraordinary structure that held Hashem's presence in the world in like some kind of tangible form. And on the 1st of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh, that structure went up. And from the 1st of Nisan for 12 days till the 12th of Nisan, a Nasi, a head of each tribe, on each of the days brought a gift. So on the first was the tribe of Yehuda, on the second was the tribe of Yisachar, etc., for the 12 days of Nisan. And this was an extraordinary 12 days. In fact, if you want to know the truth of it, each tribe represents a month of the year. So the first day of Nisan, which is Yehuda, then creates the energy on that day for the whole month of Nisan. The second day, which is going to be the tribe of Yisachar, is going to be for the whole month of Iyar, which is the second month. So actually the 12 months of the year get fed by these 12 days of Nisan. There's even a story, I hope that makes sense. There's a story about the Choizer of Lublin, the visionary. He was a great scholar in Lublin in the 1700s. And what he used to do with these 12 days of Nisan, the first 12 days, is he would actually write in a diary what he was planning to do for each month. So on the first day of Nisan, he would write what he's doing for Nisan. On the second day of Nisan, he'd write what he's doing for Iyar. On the third day of Nisan, he'd write what is he doing for Sivan. And the one year, he only wrote for the first 4 days. He didn't write into the 5th day and the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And his disciples, his Talmidim, were very concerned. And what happened that year, not to mention anything sad, I shouldn't be saying anything sad during the month of Nisan, but he actually passed away in the month of Av because he was the Choizer of Lublin and he understood that. Anyhow, so you got these 12 days of Nisan. The 13th of Nisan is a powerful day because after these 12 incredible days, it's called Isru Chag. It's still pulling in this energy of these 12 days. Avraham was also brised on the 13th of Nisan. The 14th of Nisan is Erev Pesach. The 15th of Nisan is Pesach for the 7 days, 8 days outside of Eretz Yisrael. And I think Rabbi Glassin quotes the Shlah, and he says the last 7 days of the month of Nisan are going to be the 7 days of inauguration for the third Beis HaMikdash. So this month of Nisan is a powerful, positive, redemptive, extraordinary month. Now let's take this further. We come out in 2448, 2 weeks before we come out of Mitzrayim, before we come out of Egypt, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which was today. Hashem takes Moshe and he says to him, "Come, Moshe, Lavdil," paraphrasing Hashem here, come with me, I want to teach you something. And he says to Moshe, look at the moon. And he starts to teach him how to understand Rosh Chodesh, time, and what the moon is all about. And he says to Moshe, I am establishing, this is from Reb Chaim Friedlander in his Sefer Sifsei Chaim. He says, I am setting up a new Hanhoga, a new way of running the world. When I first created the world, in the year naught, with Bereshis, Bara Elokim, in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. When I first created the world, it was from me up here, says Hashem, down. That's how the world worked. It was from the heavens downwards. Now, I'm switching things around a bit. When you, Moshe, and you as the Jewish people, declare Rosh Chodesh down here, I will respond. So imagine if we get Rosh Chodesh for Tishrei wrong. In fact, there was one year, the Gemara discusses that the Rabban Gamliel and Rav Yoshev did not agree on Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is quite a biggie. And Rabban Gamliel was the head, and Rav Yeshua had to give in to Rabban Gamliel. But for him, he felt like he was a mamash going to be keeping Yom Kippur on the wrong day. Can you imagine that? So imagine, chas v'sholem, lahavdil, that we declare Rosh Chodesh Tishrei on the wrong day. That means Hashem up there. You guys got it wrong. But you know what? I'm going to open my storehouse of forgiveness and cleansing and kapora on the day that you've chosen. So Hashem says, from this moment, 2 weeks before the redemption, I'm switching around the way the world works. It's not me down, but it's what you do. We're in partnership. What you do now draws down energy from above. 2 weeks after that, on the 15th of Nisan, which we are going into ourselves in 2 weeks' time, on the 15th of Nisan at midnight, at death of the firstborn, Hashem does something extraordinary. He mamish literally recreates the world. There was creation take 2, and I'm going to show you how this works, because this happens every single year when we go into Pesach. Rabbi Tatz says, you have access to Rabbi Tatz, but I'm going to be brave and quote him here. Rabbi Tatz discusses and explains that who was around when Hashem created the world? It's not a trick question. There was no one. It was only Adam and Chava created on day 6. So for the first 5 days, no one's around to see that Hashem is the creator. And when Hashem originally creates the world, he creates the world with 10 sayings of creation. So let's watch this. So saying number 1, in the beginning, Hashem creates the heavens and the earth. That is saying number 1, like a little dot, the beginning. Saying number 2, Hashem says, let there be light. There's like a layer that goes over that. Then let there be the firmament. Then let there be the next thing and the next thing and the next thing until we finally get to the end. Let us make man, says Hashem. And we've got this gigantic world, which is like this huge onion. I wish I could get a better moshel, a better analogy. And then we're living in this existence for 2,448 years. We then come to the year of the plagues. And Hashem says, it's now time to reveal that I'm the creator. This is going to be the Eisha Torah, Arachim Seminar, Kiruv on steroids 101. I'm going to show that I'm the creator, and the emunah that needs to function for the rest of time is going to be established now. The first plague is blood. And with that plague, Hashem peels open that last saying of creation, let us make man. It's a reverse engineering of creation. And then the next plague, we peel open the second last saying of creation, etc. All the way. And Rabbi Tatz always says, there are different permutations as to how this worked, but it is so elegant when you reach the 9th plague, because the 9th plague, as we're getting closer and closer inside the onion, is darkness. And the second saying of creation is Hashem says, let there be light. And then finally, midnight, the 15th of Nisan, it's death of the firstborn, which catapults us all the way back to the very first saying of creation, which was in the beginning, Hashem creates the heavens and the earth. What happened at midnight on the 15th of Nisan, and what happens every single year when we collide with this line, is Hashem really takes us into the original Big Bang of reality. And what happened at the first creation is there's just Hashem in the world. There's a unity, there's a oneness. There is Hashem at the beginning. The truth is Hashem creates the Torah before he creates the world. He looks into the Torah and creates the world. So it's Hashem and the Torah all unified. And then when he takes us out of Mitzrayim, what are we doing? And the Maharal discusses this. Hashem says, do me a favor. I'd like you to eat something called the Korban Pesach. We're sitting in our houses. Hashem is refreshing existence. And we're eating something that had to be roasted whole. You couldn't break down the bones. You know, this established inviting people as guests. You had to make sure that you had the right number of people to eat the exact amount so that there was nothing left over. Why, says the Maharal? Because it was a food that we were eating that couldn't break apart. It was about unity, about unity of the group who were eating it, and that the food itself couldn't fall to pieces. It was about oneness, because at that moment, when Hashem recreates the world, so to speak, or proves that he's the creator, Rav Shlomo Wolbe says it so magnificently. At that moment, the Jewish people, Torah and Kutcha Brichu, Hashem, it's impossible to say it, as he says it, fused into a oneness. We were bonded in that first moment as if it is now Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. And I'm going to prove this to you a little bit. Every single month has got a rearrangement of the letters of Hashem's name. So there are 4 letters in Hashem's magnificent Yud Kei Vav Kei name, and they rearranged 12 times across the year. So for the month of Nisan, beautifully, I've got a little board here. I'm just writing it as a kuf. It doesn't rearrange at all. It is exactly as it is. It is a yud and a hey, and then a vav and a hey. It's written perfectly. And in Tikkunei Zohar, there's a phrase that is brought to match this name. And the phrase that is brought, I'll just write it here, is Yismachu Hashamayim V'Sogel Haaretz. I love this. This gives me the most extreme joy. It is can you see the yud? Yismachu Hashamayim V'Sogel Haaretz. Every single rearrangement of Hashem's name has a different phrase in Tikkunei Zohar, which gives you the essence of the month. The first creation was Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz, which means in the beginning Hashem creates the heavens and the earth, and it's almost like no emotion, it's a fact. For the month of Nisan, it is Yismachu Hashamayim, the heavens are now happy, V'Sogel Haaretz, and the earth is rejoicing, because we are now in relationship with Hashem. So far so good, I hope. Let's carry on. Because now this brings us to something that I am this is really the shir that I wanted to teach. And now we're approaching it. So, Be'ezras Hashem, I hope you don't mind if I do go till 9:30, because I am just desperately needing and wanting to share what I have next for you. Great. I got a thumbs up. That's so exciting. I feel like I'm interacting with a square. Thank you so much. So here we go. So I heard this many, many years ago from Rabbi Gladstein, and it is exquisite. And it changed my whole experience of the Seder, and to such an extent that, look, I've always enjoyed cooking for Pesach. I'm one of those strange ones who you do not need a Pesach kitchen. You can set up outside on your balcony, on your patio, on a porch somewhere. I have 2 little ovens. I have a big basin that I stick by a tap outside, and I cook and I freeze. And
It's because you don't live in London, darling, but it's okay.
I know, I said that as I was saying.
Okay. That's okay. We're not jealous. It's fine.
Okay, rewind, come back. Anywho, So, but I look forward to the Seder as well. Now, I've always, the Seder is a beautiful night, but it can be exhausting. But when you've got something really, deliciously exquisite that I'm just desperate to share with you, you'll understand why. So he quotes the Briskerov, actually. And the Briskerov asks a brilliant question. He says, when we look at the Haggadah, it's set up so strangely. There's so many strange things about it. But at the beginning, it starts, Hashosa Hacha, now we are here, Lashana Haba Ba'ar'ad Yisrael. You might not notice that because it's in the Aramaic. So it says, now we are here, next year in Eretz Yisrael, and it says, let all who are hungry come and eat, etc., etc. But it starts off saying, next year in Eretz Yisrael. I always say, what does that mean? For like a Pesach retreat? But no, it means next year in Eretz Yisrael. When we say that, but Izras Hashem, it means Mashiach, and we're going to be there. And then how does the Haggadah end? It ends as well. It's not just a sweet thing that we say at the end. It says, Lashana Haba Yerushalayim, next year in Yerushalayim. That is mamish what we say. So the Briskerov says, the Torah starts with chesed, the Torah itself. Hashem clothes Adam and Chava, and at the end, it ends because he buries Moshe Rabbeinu. So there's a chesed at the beginning, there's a chesed at the end, therefore the whole Torah is about chesed. So I have to ask you a question, says the Briskerov. If the Haggadah starts with wanting Mashiach, and if it ends with wanting Mashiach, then surely the whole Haggadah is some kind of handbook for bringing Mashiach. It's a little bit like when you teach kids how to write an essay. You've got to say, you do the introduction, you write a point, you do the conclusion, and then your body should be about what the introduction and the conclusion is about. So let's ask a few questions. I'm going to give you a list of about 6 or 7 questions. We're going to try and answer them, and Be'ezras Hashem, that should give us some huge chizuk for what the Seder is all about. So there's someone who we sort of invite, but it's a very veiled invitation to our Seder, and we invite him at a very strange time. We open the door and we say, Shvoch HaMaschal on the nations, pour your wrath on the nations, Hashem. And there's this 5th cup, and there's this almost reference to inviting Eliyahu and Navi to our Seder. Now, we don't invite him to the Sukkah. Alavai, we should invite him every single Shabbos. But there's something specific about Eliyahu at the Seder. Yes? Yes. But it's also strange because we aren't inviting him for the meal. We've mamish gone through the whole of Magid, we have the Su'udah, and then we mention Eliyahu Hanavi. So that's question number 1. Strange time to invite him. Moshe also is at the burning bush, and he's saying to Hashem, please don't send me into Mitzrayim. I really can't do this job. And he mamish turns to Hashem and he says, Shlachna b'yad tishlach. Send whoever you need to send. And according to Rav Yonasan ben Uziel, Targum Yonasan, he actually says to Hashem, I think you should send Pinchas. Pinchas is going to become Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, is going to usher in the final redemption. So why doesn't he do this one now? And you get 2 for the price of 1. Like, he's going to do the final one, so he may as well do this first one when we leave Egypt. There's a lot of Eliyahu references. In fact, there's even a discussion as to who wrote the Haggadah. I know Rabbi Glassen's got a share of so many, many different opinions, but there's a big opinion that's brought from Rav Avraham Shor in the Lekach V'Alibov, and he quotes Rav Simcha Bunim of Peshischa, who says that Eliyahu Navi wrote the Haggadah. So I ask you, he's not even in it. Eliyahu did lots of other things. He was spearing Zimri and Cosby. He was lifting, he was raising up offerings that on Mount Carmel. Like, there are lots of other stories that Eliyahu could have written, but it's an opinion that he wrote the Haggadah. So there's something deeply Mashiach-like about this book. So now let's ask a question. Oh, yes, my favorite. There's that section in the Haggadah that starts discussing all the plagues. And it says, there were 10 plagues in Egypt. But actually, Hashem's hand was busy at the sea, So it's 10 times 5 at the sea, so they're 50 at the sea. But actually, there were 4 expressions of redemption, so there are 40 plagues in Egypt, and 50 times 4 gives you 200 plagues at the sea. But actually, according to another opinion, there are 5 expressions of redemption. I think that's what it is, or something else, 5 band of emissaries, and all of these things that we read. So actually, there were 50 plagues in Egypt, times 50 times 5 is 250 plagues at the sea. Are you with me? Yes, exactly. That's how I feel on Seder night. Why? Why do we need so many details? What is that all about? And also, when we sing Dayenu, that's when everyone gets excited that the food might actually be coming. Dayenu. There's a paragraph after Dayenu that has got a very cryptic phrase in it. Dayenu is a great thank you song. And then we say, thank you, Hashem, for everything and everything and everything and everything. And we also say, thank you, Hashem, for the toiva kafula umuchupeles. What a funny phrase. Thank you, Hashem, for the favor that you've done, which is a double favor. It's got a duality to it. It's got a doubling. Strange. It's almost as though the plagues happened once and they're going to happen again. There was an original redemption and there's like a doubling. And one more question, and then we can try and answer all these questions and figure it all out, is Hallel. Hallel at the Seder is split. We've got a Hallel that happens before the Seder, before the meal, and there's a Hallel that happens, the other half happens afterwards. What is this? Like, on Rosh Chodesh, if the Chazan were to say Hallel and then sit down, have a sandwich, and then carry on with Hallel afterwards, we'd be like, what is going on here? So here are our questions, a gorgeous list of questions. It seems to be that the whole Haggadah should be about bringing Mashiach. There are all these veiled references to Eliyahu Navi that he may have even written this Haggadah. We've got so many details, strange details about these plagues. There's some kind of double favor that Hashem did for us, and Hallel is split. So there's a principle that I need to mention here, and this principle is brilliant. And Rabbi Gladstein discusses this. He says, firstly, I'm actually going to ask you a great question. He says, where do we even know that we're supposed to believe in the coming of Mashiach? Where in the Torah is there this belief that Mashiach is coming and that we should literally be on the edge of our seats awaiting Mashiach? In the Rambam's 13 principles, I think it's the 12th principle, and he says, Ani ma'amin be'emunah shleima, I believe with a complete faith, bevias HaMashiach, in the coming of Mashiach, it's not just a song, by the way. And even though he's taking a long time, I'll wait for him. Like I'm literally anticipating that he's going to come every single day. Where in the Torah do we learn that this is a fact, that Mashiach is 100% coming? So there are lots of different places, but the one that is exquisite that Rabbi Gladstein quotes is from the Smuk, is the Sefer Mitzvah, the author of the Sefer Mitzvah's Katan. And he says, you know where the absolute reference is to the coming of Mashiach? The first of the 10 commandments. The first of the 10 commandments is, I am Hashem who took you out of Egypt. Because Hashem took us out of Egypt, it is an absolute proof that there was that redemption. Therefore, there's going to be the final redemption. I'm going to show you why that's the case. There is a principle called Maaseh Avos Siman Labanim. Siman, very good word. Maaseh Avos Siman Labanim means what happened to the fathers, what happens to the parents is a siman, is a sign, is a portent, is a signal, creates a template for what's going to happen to the children. A classic example is Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah go down to Egypt. When they're in Egypt, because there was a famine, Sarah gets chapped, gets taken by Paro. Paro tries to have an immoral relationship with her. He cannot touch her. And then Abraham and Sarah leave with great wealth. That is a classic situation where there's what happens to Abraham and Sarah creates it's a simon, but it creates a template, a mold, it creates a future possibility for something to happen with the children. And we literally go down to Egypt, we protect it from immorality, and when we leave with great wealth. So what the smak, the Sefer Mitzvahs Katan, is bringing is that original exodus from Egypt, when we came out, created the original mold. It triggered a reality that is 100% going to happen in the future. Now, the Ramban discusses this, and he says, yes, this is the case, but there's something strange. He quotes a situation, and he says, Jeremiah the prophet, Yirmiyahu Navi, makes a prophecy about the downfall of Babylonia, Babel. And he says the empire of Babylonia is going to fall. And then someone called Baruch takes a rock, says the Ramban, and throws a rock into the Euphrates River. And now that the rock has sunk, Babylonia can fall. I mean, what is this? This sounds... So the truth is, and now we're going to need to bring in the Ramchal. We live in a physical world down here. There are spiritual realities happening above us. We need to do physical actions down here to draw down those spiritual realities. It's all going to make sense. Please just hang on for a few minutes. I'm going to mention Rosh Hashanah, and I'm not getting confused. So at Rosh Hashanah time, we literally have something called simanim. We sit and we eat some cabbage and we say something, Hashem should destroy our enemies, and we eat apples and honey, and we eat, I don't know, beetroot and gourd, and I don't know what you probably, I hope you all do these things in London. Maybe you've got different ones. We got peas and rice and mushrooms and all these things. We say things and we eat things, but actually there are spiritual decrees happening at Rosh Hashanah time that want to come down, and we need to do something in this world to draw that energy in. So the Ramchal explains, Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, he says the whole Pesach Seder, what we are doing from beginning to end, is one giant simon. It's like we had the original redemption, and then every single year since then, for 3,340 odd years, every single year we go in and again and again and again, and we are refining the template. We are experiencing the redemption as if it is happening to us every single year, so that we can finally trigger the final redemption. Like it mamish happens to us every single year. No, the Chasam Sofer says something amazing. He says, you have to 100% believe that the redemption is happening again at your table in 2 weeks' time. It is a real experience. He says, why? You know, we don't actually say a brocha on the telling of the story. You know, when we read Megillas Esther, we actually say a brocha about Megillas Esther. But we don't, nowhere in the Haggadah does it say, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lahagid the story. Like there are different versions of it, but we can't say a brocha on the telling of the story. You know what the Chasam Sofer says? It'll blow your mind. I hope so. He says, at the beginning of the story, at the beginning of the Pesach Seder, we discuss that we come from idol worshippers. So at the beginning of the Seder, it's as if we are not Jewish. So we can't yet say a brocha on the telling of this. I don't know, because it's a real redemption. So every single year we experience this redemption. We do all of these simanim as if we are drawing down this energy to bring that final redemption. So this starts to make so much sense. At the beginning of the Haggadah, we literally say, please, Mashiach. At the end of the Haggadah, we say, please, Mashiach. Why? Because the whole story has been about Mashiach. So when I learned this, and by the way, that's why we have to have so many details about the plagues, because we are creating the future redemption. We have to mention it. We have to mention, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 40, maybe it's 200, maybe it's this, maybe it's 250, because we've got to put in all the details. And Hallel is split, because the first half of the story is about saying thank you for the first redemption. The second half of the Hallel is because of the future redemption. And that's why we open the door after we've told the whole story and gone through the redemption, because now we've created the possibility for Mashiach coming, and we can open the door and we can say, Nu Eliyahu, the time has come. It's starting to... So when I learned this, I was sitting with one of the Haggadahs, you do these things. There's so many new Haggadahs that keep coming out. And I'm sitting at my Pesach table, my Seder table. And I suddenly, I get all excited, and my family know that, oh, well, she's having a moment. The Vilna Gaon comes along, and just listen. So the Vilna Gaon's understanding of the 4 cups. Okay, maybe I won't write it. It'll get too confusing on the board. So for him, there are 4 cups. So listen to the Vilna Gaon's experience of the Seder. Cup number 1, Kiddush. So for the Vilna Gaon, cup number 1, he says, that is this world. He's making Kiddush on this world, Olam Hazeh. Cup number 2, course number 2, which is about the telling of the story, meaning experiencing redemption. For the Vilna Gaon, he says, that course, when he makes the brocha, was about going into the times of Mashiach. And then cup number 3, which is on the benching, he says, I'm benching at the Seudah, at the feast of the Leviathan, which is after Mashiach, and there's resurrection of the dead, Tchias HaMesim. And for the Vilna Gaon doing the cup, the 4th cup for Hallel, for him, he'd already gone into Olam Haba. Mamash, this is true. I'll add one more thing, and then I'll tell you a quick story, and then I feel yoitzi. So, and please, for me it's late, but it's not so late for you guys, but do not fall asleep when I mention this part. There's an extraordinary part that now you can actually find something really meaty to hold on to when you look at it. It's discussing the sages in Bnei Brak. That section? They're talking about the exodus from Egypt, and someone has to come and tell them that it's Shema. So now watch this. I can write this. So it says that they need to talk about the exodus from Egypt, Kol Yemei Chayecha, all the days of your life. It says all the days of your life. You should talk about coming out of Egypt. You should talk about all the days of your life. So in the Haggadah, it says, what are the days of your life? So they say, well, the days of your life mean the days. What are all the days of your life? That includes the nights. So you've got the days and the nights. So you should talk about coming out of Egypt all the days of the days and the nights. Talk about it all the time. And then hold on to your seats. It says, actually, the days of your life refers to this world. All the days of your life, you should talk about it. So it should say this world. And what's the opposite of this world? The next world. But it doesn't say that. It might say it in the translation, but the Hebrew says something extraordinary. So you should talk about it all the days of your life in this world, and you should talk about it all the days of your life. And in the Hebrew, it says, Lahavi limois HaMashiach, which means to bring you to the days of Mashiach. If you talk about the redemption, it will mamish activate the days of Mashiach. So now, what do we do with this big kind of share? That your Seder can literally activate the future redemption. So every single month has got an action. Got a few minutes left. And the action for this month is just fabulous. You know, Hashem creates the world with speech. And if this is the month where Hashem is now recreating the world, but it's according to us, it's got to be something with speech. And it's not just any kind of speech like Deborah, Amira. It's sicha, conversation, which means Hashem wants us to talk to him in conversation about our relationship with him. So Rebbetzin Shira Smiles told the most magnificent story. I love it. It's just exquisite. Years and years and years ago, before cell phones, before, banking apps, before kids were little, she'd flown from Eretz Yisrael all the way back to New York. And she got a taxi with little kids. And I think she had car seats, bags, everything. And she had enough money to get with her taxi back to her house. So the taxi's driving and it's in New York, but she did not factor in a really big problem is that it was the day of the New York Marathon. And the taxi starts diverting and waiting and diverting and moving and going somewhere else. And the meter's going up and up and up and up. And Rebbetzin Smile says, okay, this is a problem. And she says to the taxi driver, I don't have more money. I cannot actually pay you more. But if you take us home, I'll give you money. And the taxi driver says, no, and drops them off in the middle of New York on the sidewalk. And she's standing there, exhausted, little kids, luggage, and a minivan pulls up. A woman sticks her head out and says to her, aren't you Shira Smiles? So I think at that point, even if she wasn't Shira Smiles, she might have said, yes, I'm Shira Smiles. So the woman says to her, you know, you taught my daughter at SEM, you were amazing. Can I help you with anything? And they hop in the minivan and she takes them all the way home. And Rebbetzin Smile says she got out of that minivan, she ran into her house. Of course, she said, thank you. But she said she just had this overwhelming urge to phone as many people as possible and share how Hashem had saved her. And this is really what the Seder night is about. It's about going into the kitchen quietly and stirring your soup and turning to Hashem in a quiet moment and saying, I'd like to be in relationship with you. I'd like to be part of this huge emunah that you established at one point, and I'd like to speak to you about all that you have ever helped me with. And I'd like maybe to share it at the Seder table, or maybe just to talk to you, Hashem, about how much I would like to be connected to you for the year to come, so that I can trust in this deep emunah that you established as being the creator, as being connected with us and your Torah, all set up on Pesach night. So Be'ezras Hashem, we should be able to access that, access a relationship with Hashem through speech and emunah and connection, and use the Seder to create and refine this template for future redemption. So thank you for having me. It's so late here.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. Thank you. So what I'm going to do, Nicole, because this is one thing that we do, and that's why during Pesach, next week we have still, but during Pesach we don't have, just because I can't be mafresh challah and make matzahs, you know. So, Baruch Hashem, today will be my third hafrasha, so we're just very blessed. Now we're going to make sure that everybody eats it all. This one especially from our son who's just got back from yeshiva via Egypt, and there we go. And then I'm going to have you listen to the last bit of Shema Yisrael with Caroline. So let's go. And thank you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvaysa v'tzivanu, להפיש חלה מן העיסה,
Amen.
In the zechus of the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah. We should meet Mashiach very, very soon. We should all be together, and this dough should be the challahs that we're going to take to the Kohanim in the Beis HaMikdash. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all just dance together. Our tambourines are waiting, our Torah is waiting, and thank you so much for being with us and sharing. Anybody that wants to stay for a couple of minutes, I've got Caroline Pefter singing in the room next door. But Nicole, we will let you go to sleep, and thank you so much. Honestly, thank you
so much for having me.
And I'm looking forward to now going back tonight after Neats, and thank you, Neats, for just being there and doing this, to be able to listen properly while I'm baking my challahs. Thank you.
Yeah, you're amazing.
He entered the fortress grey and cold. Your kind is not among us, he was told. Hashem above, he whispered, please don't let me faint. As he began to sing, Shema Yisrael, Shema, Shema Yisrael. Know that there is but one God above. When you feel pain, when you rejoice, know how he longs to hear your voice. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We say Shema, Shema Yisrael. Know that there is but one God above. When you feel pain, when you rejoice, know how he longs to hear your voice. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad.